Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our daily get-together here at Facebook Live every morning, 10:30 in the morning, and then on YouTube. As you know, this is where we get together to talk about headlines and stories that affect our community here in Puerto Vallarta. If this is the first time that you've been here, if this is the first time visiting here, oh my goodness, hold on just a second. David, I don't appreciate I don't know what I did to you yesterday. Um, I I'm sorry that you don't appreciate it. My show notes are on my webpage, and I'll be happy to share the menu again today. The show notes are also on the show from yesterday. If this is something that upset you, I truly apologize. The all the recommendations that we did for restaurants yesterday are out and about. Please write me privately, or I will write you privately so that I can make sure that you can find it. As I was saying, this is our daily get together. If you're new here, please mention the words new at the beginning of your remarks so that we can acknowledge you accordingly. We want to know where you're from. We'd love to learn how you found out about coffee and headlines. Today, I borrowed Luna's camera because I foolishly forgot to charge the batteries on. Oh, I see. I'm sorry, David. I didn't realize you were joking. Yes, I became quite hungry myself after thinking about all these restaurants. Anyhow, as I was saying, I borrowed Luna's camera because I forgot to charge the batteries on my camera. So if my colors are a little wonky today, please don't take it personally. We have a lot of things to cover today, but I want to start by acknowledging something that I said yesterday. Yesterday, I made a statement that was not accurate. Yesterday, when we were talking about restaurants, I said that Alberto Perez, La Palapa owner, was publicly homophobic. And I should not have used the word publicly. And I probably should not have used the word homophobic either. So I am sorry that I said that he is publicly homophobic. However, I will also say that my opinion doesn't come out of thin air. And it comes from incidents that happened at my former place of employment that helped guide that opinion, and I continue to have that opinion. I hope somebody will prove me wrong. And this happened yesterday. 3 people reached out to me privately. One is a regular viewer who was concerned about what I said. The other one was a person that told me that she has been a client of La Palapa for 20 years, so she couldn't understand where I was coming from. And the third person was Rene Perez, who is Alberto Perez's wife, who was fairly upset about what I had said. Now, all of these 3 people are members of the English-speaking community, and I responded to them in the most courteous possible way, and I explained that I would address the situation today. So today now I find myself in a strange situation in which if I ruffled feathers or I caused damage, I don't want to cause any more. But at the same time, for better or worse, I did say those words here. And I've said this many times, credibility is very important to me in this space because I want you to feel like you can come here knowing that you're going to hear information you can trust. One of the things that I like about this community is that you are very verbal. You are very participative. Sometimes you have great feedback from me. Sometimes you have negative feedback for me, which I also welcome. So this is going to be a good day for me to ask for your feedback. How should I handle the La Palapa comments? I have several options. I can go back and address them privately to these 3 individuals, and I would be so very happy to do that. As you know, I have the ability to address directly those of you who have sponsored Coffee and Headlines. It is you who I respond to. It is you who shape the content of this place, or I can address this situation publicly here. What I would like to know, what I'd like to do is to continue with the news, and we'll come back and revisit this situation here because, again, my best intention is to handle things, content, news, and opinions as clearly, as transparently, and as honestly as possible. Let us go into the news. As you know, things are getting really tense about what's going on in fact, let me go back to the big me for a second. Tensions are rising when it comes down to the situation that is going on here in Puerto Vallarta and in the rest of the state regarding this incident this situation that we may close the city again. So what I want to do today is to show you some of the reactions that we're seeing online. I want you to see what is going on in terms of what the city is publishing, our mayor is publishing, what the papers are publishing. Whether these efforts are enough or not, it is something that is a matter of discussion, and it is something that, for better or worse, we can only do so much about. This first one comes from the government of Puerto Vallarta, published on Facebook 22 hours ago, and it indicates that the number of cases in Puerto Vallarta are continuing to rise. This is why we shouldn't keep our guard down. And we have to be responsible citizens. If you take care of yourself, you protect those around you. If you don't have to go out, stay at home. The city of Puerto Vallarta also released this one some 21 hours ago. It says it doesn't matter where you go. If you need to leave your house, it is mandatory that you use a face mask and you follow at all times the established sanitary measures. If you take care of yourself, you take care of those around you. And then it says outside of house, wear a face mask. These were echoed by our mayor, Arturo Dávalos, who said, friends, it is in our hands to save the lives of those we love the most. If you need to leave your house, please take care of yourself by following the preventive measures that you already know. And then the graphic says, of course, use a face mask. If you're going to go out, try to just go out by yourself and not bring not bring a member of your family. And then it says follow the security protocol. Mayor Dávalos also reflected this one, saying 24 hours ago, I continue to ask you to assume responsibility because we have to stop this chain of contagion by following the protocols that we already know. The use of face masks and antibacterial gel is indispensable, but it is also important to avoid leaving the house if we don't have anything important to do outside. A number of audio files were posted online, and they turned out to be fake news. And they were also published by our governor, Enrique Alfaro Ramirez, who said, it is really embarrassing to see how irresponsibility has no limits. This audio that is circulating among different avenues is the kind of fake information that only generates fear and lack of control, chaos. Everything they say is false, and we haven't programmed any single closing of any kind. Then it says, the worst thing of all is that audios files that stupid that there are several audio files out there that are that stupid. I will explain that in a second. Don't let them fool you. Even though that we are in a moment of enormous risk, we are doing fine and we're following the path we've established. If people fulfill their responsibility, we will continue with the economic reactivation step by step. So this is what we saw on the actual uh, Facebook walls of our governor, our mayor, and the city of Puerto Vallarta and the government of Jalisco. Um, Meanwhile, Vallarta Independiente again reinforces this measure, confirming that face mask is obligatory, and they go as far as announcing that the fine for not wearing a face mask in public could be as high as 800 pesos. Um, Whether there are enough people out there reinforcing the face masks or not, that's a different story. But it is important that you know that you could be fined if you don't follow this guideline. Contralinea also reflects the same bit of news, and I wanted to make sure that you knew this is going on. Um, and then we have this other one from Contralinea, which again talks about how there are returning access filters for buses and for the beaches. This one particularly says that during the weekend, um, there's going to be more security on the beaches, and they are not going to allow for more than the necessary or the permitted number of people in on the beach. I'm sorry, I'm not clicking on the proper ones. Um, Meanwhile, Mural in Guadalajara posts that a lot of people in Guadalajara city are not respecting the measures, and this is really unfortunate. So don't think that there's lack of regard only here in Puerto Vallarta. Unfortunately, it's happening everywhere. Something else that was published that made headlines in many sources throughout Mexico is the fact that Hugo López Gatell, who usually presents the stoplight for the whole country on Fridays in his nightly press conference, did not present it last night because he blamed states. He didn't specify any specific state, but he blamed states for not submitting information consistently and accurately. Um, and this prevents him and his team to be able to present accurate numbers, which is really concerning, obviously, because he said, I want to anticipate that in this technical report, the message is of concern because what is happening at subnational level, which means statewide level, and the situation that is verified in some cases, the risk of opening confinement is happening too quickly, and we are seeing spikes in what's going on. So so yes, things are very chaotic here and around the country because of this matter. Vallarta Opina also chimes in saying that COVID-19 threatens tourism in Puerto Vallarta. If cases continue to increase, beaches will be closed. So, again, needless to say, there are local and state and national sources that are explaining the situation. One of the audios that was leaked yesterday had to do with the fact that City Hall, our government, would close for 15 days because of COVID-19, and this was denied in Vallarta Opina en Línea. So it is crazy that there are a lot of people that just spreading all this fake information. This article from Guadalajara also denies that those audios were real. So as you can see, unfortunately, the situation is presenting all kinds of chaotic information and And that's the way it is. And these are the news. Let me take a quick look at your comments, and then we'll get to that poll in a second. Um, da, 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 da. Good morning, everyone. I want you to know, as always, that I'm very grateful to see you all. I want to definitely, before I forget, although I want to talk about this at length later, say that yesterday afternoon I had a great get together with Sherry and Terry Gone. I don't know if I'm saying your last name properly. They are the wonderful ladies from Beach Crossers, which is the entity that provides equipment for people that have mobility challenges to be able to enjoy beach wheelchairs and all kinds of specialized equipment for people to really enjoy our destination. We had a great time talking yesterday, and we will be promoting some of the services that they offer in the future, because I think it's really wonderful that they empower people that would otherwise not be able to move about through our beautiful destination. Let me take a quick look. A humid Boston. Well, Puerto Vallarta is pretty humid, as we'll see through our weather in a second. I already read Dave Reading's message, and now I realize he was joking. More good mornings, more good mornings. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Dave Van Pelt chimes in again. Thank you all, including you, Paco, for the awesome recommendations. I also noticed, Dave, that you posted an inquiry in one of the local groups asking about the art walk, whether it was open or not. Unfortunately, this time of the year, art walk is not something that goes on. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong. But as I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned Divino Dante and downstairs Galleria Dante. I am almost certain that they're open, and I can easily say that there are many great galleries in the city. In fact, right across from Galleria Dante is Galleria Contempo, which is another gorgeous gallery. I'm not sure if Galleria Contempo is open this year. I'm fairly certain that Galleria Dante is open. So if you want to see some art, I certainly hope that you'll keep that in consideration. Let me see. Did I compose? No, Doug, I did not compose the music for the show. It is public domain accessible music that I purchased so that I would not get into trouble with Facebook or with YouTube when we play it. Sherry says, thank you for the Marina Vallarta walkabout yesterday. Thank you for those of you who didn't notice. Since I met with the nice ladies of Beach Crossers at Starbucks in Marina Vallarta, I whipped out my 360-degree camera and did a little walk around, and we ended up at the bookstore around the corner. I paid a surprise visit. It was nice to see that a lot of restaurants are putting their measures into place, but it was so weird that it was difficult to find parking. It really was difficult to find parking. So you'd think that we're not going through a pandemic. Kelly says, thank you. I say thank you back to you, Kelly. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Okay. If I don't address it publicly here, my statement stands as it is without qualification. Well, I will put out the survey results right now. And this is what you have requested. And again, because I respond to you, I am happy to share this particular incident here, because that seems to be your wish. I will preface by saying that I have nothing against the staff of La Palapa. I have nothing against the wonderful food that they serve. I have nothing against their legacy. It's a time-honored restaurant. But it so happened that when I started working at Vallarta Lifestyles, and albeit that was many years ago, when I started working in Vallarta Lifestyles, an article had just been published about places in Puerto Vallarta that offer live music. At the time, this predates the dates in which I was the managing editor, but it was traditional for Puerto Vallarta, for Vallarta Lifestyles to always ask client restaurants if they offered live music, because it makes sense that any publication would want to support their own restaurants, their own advertisers. So the article spoke about the fact that Vallarta, Lapa Lapa offers live music. In fact, Alberto Perez is a very talented musician that plays in his own restaurant. And the article mentioned in passing, the editorial article mentioned in passing that that Lapa Lapa is very popular with the gay community. It didn't say that that was a good thing or a bad thing. The article was submitted by a writer. It was edited by the previous managing editor. It was reviewed by the sales staff. It was placed on the editorial board for everybody to see and sign, which was the standard procedure at Vallarta Lifestyles. And the article was published as such. I am sure that because these magazines are available digitally, we could find the specific article, we could find the page, paragraphs, and so forth and so on. The article exists. What is also existing is the fact that Alberto Perez did not like the fact that Vallarta Lifestyles published that statement. And at the time, if I recall correctly, he even mentioned the possibility of canceling his advertising contract with a publication. Now, is that public information? No. Is it private? I don't know. Was it enough for me to develop my opinion about him? Yes, it was. Is it fair to say that that was a homophobic statement or a homophobic action? That is a matter of opinion. Am I okay expressing my opinions here? Well, I see world leaders, health experts, lawyers, writers, editors expressing their opinions in reputable publications around the world. And I see regular folks like you and me expressing theirs in Amazon.com reviews, in TripAdvisor, in rants and raves. So I am under the impression that it is okay for me to express my opinions here. However, it is also true that Coffee and Headlines is headlines and stories for the Puerto Vallarta English-speaking community. Coffee and Headlines is not headline stories and Paco's opinion. And I have shared my opinion occasionally because I've always been under the impression that it was important to you. But I am also so very happy to keep my opinion to myself. And you get to make that call because it is you who decide what the content of this project should be. I figured I am going to create this project and I'm going to steer it around the wants and the needs of the people that visit it, because that's the way I understand a project should be. So I can either keep it up as it is, I can stick to the headlines and stories only, or, not too long ago, somebody said that you thought that this was all about fluffy stuff. So if you want fluffy, I'm happy to give you fluffy. Again, my comments about Lapa Lapa were personal, and I could be wrong about that. For all I know, the situation that I described to you happened a long time ago. And everybody can have a change of heart. For all I know, I could go to Lapa Lapa, which is a gorgeous restaurant with great food in an amazing privileged location, and celebrate my big gay wedding there once the pandemic is over. And if not my big gay wedding, for all I know, I can celebrate my big rehearsal dinner there with all my gay friends. If this is going on at Lapa Lapa, if Lapa Lapa has done something to support the gay community, if I am wrong, by all means, please let me know publicly and privately, because I will be the first person to not only apologize, but I will be the first person to take my words back, and I will be the most fervent supporter of La Palapa because they look after the gay community. So you know how to find me. Please feel free to find me either publicly or privately. I always welcome your positive feedback because it nurtures me. I also welcome your negative feedback because it helps me become better at what I do. And when I receive hateful feedback, which I do on occasion, that probably means that you've forgotten that I am as imperfect as anybody else. And it hurts to receive it, but at the end, it also shapes me and makes me a better person at what I do. Okay, let's take a look at the weather. It is 85 degrees now, and it is 29 Celsius, and humidity is at 73%. Um, snarky coffee and snarky carrot weather says you must break through the fog of lies TV weathermen have created around you, and that is what snarky carrot weather is saying. Let me see if I can invoke the proper weather forecasts today. Today is Saturday, and it says that we're going to have rain until the evening, winds west at 1 to 3. I still haven't figured out what that M/S is. I haven't had a chance to research that, but I'm definitely going to do it. Tomorrow we will have rain in the morning, winds north. Let me see if I can. I can do for Monday as well. Humid and partly cloudy through the day. So there you have it. That is the latest weather forecast. And I want to come back to my main view to share a couple of things with you. The first one that I want to share, let me put it up on my screen, is that there were also wonderful there was a wonderful feedback that I got yesterday. I had no idea that my mention of El Arrayán corresponded with the fact that they had just reopened. So Carmen Porras got in touch with me and thanked me for the mention of the restaurant. And they have been publishing this, that they have just reopened, and they're following they're following all the guidelines. So I am so very happy about this because, as I said to her in my response to her, I admire her, I respect her, and I love their food. And I think that is just wonderful. Happy ending. I like that. I think you are explaining to me that it means meters per second. Thank you very much. I've never been a weatherman, so if I fail at providing the weather, then I am going to continue to do it because you've asked me to as best as I can. The day you tell me you don't want to see the weather anymore, then we won't have the weather. It is 10:59, and that means that we've gone at this for a half an hour. I have one more happy story to share, or happy experiment to share. If you want to see it very quickly, please let me know by typing happy story and whatnot. And otherwise, I'll just begin with my usual thanks. Meanwhile, let me grab a quick cup of coffee. Today is a good day for warm coffee. And I don't see any new remarks from you. Let me then take a look at any other remarks you may have shared that are important. There is a lot of back and forth about what I mentioned about La Palapa. I am not going to address it because I believe I have apologized for making an inaccurate statement, and I have apologized if I offended anyone, and I will gladly follow the requests I received from La Palapa, from the owner's wife, to not ever mention things like that again in my program. I'm happy to not ever bring La Palapa up in the program for that matter. Um, and I'm very happy to know that there are so many great restaurants. Um, oh, happy story, happy story. Okay, thank you very much for that. I just wanted to make sure that we were okay. Here's a tip. Here's a tip, and this is a fun experiment. And I may actually ruffle your feathers a little bit. And if I do, please know that I'm doing this with the best of intentions. I hope, in fact, I trust that as Puerto Vallarta locals, even if you don't speak Spanish, you understand the phrase buenos dias, buenas tardes, and buenas noches, which mean good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Um, if you didn't know that, those are good phrases to know. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Now, I'm going to tell you um, how you can use buenos dias, buenas tardes, and buenas noches to get a great kick and to feel good. To get a kick, and I do this quite frequently, I must confess it. A lot of times, well, when I'm walking out and about, I am of the habit of saying buenos dias, buenas tardes, or buenas noches to anybody that is walking around me. That's just the way I am. I don't necessarily make eye contact, and with a mask on, nobody knows if I'm smiling or not. But I always walk around saying buenos dias, buenas tardes, y, or buenas noches. Now, I do have a slightly evil habit of walking down the street, and when I see somebody that clearly has um, I'm just a visitor here flag, I do confess that I deliberately say buenos dias or buenas tardes or buenas noches. And more than once have I wished that I had a tape recorder on me, because a lot of times what you get back is like a muffled murder, you know? And I laugh because I don't know if that is the other person's best intention at trying to speak Spanish, or the other person doesn't even know what I said. Um, and it is funny, and maybe I'm being unfair, but I would imagine that if you're visiting another country, you would at least learn how to say buenos dias, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. So if you are locals, if you feel like locals, um, try learning those phrases. And if you care to uh, get a kick out of them, and again, I hope I'm not offending you by saying this, feel free to try them on strangers on the street, because it is quite funny. It is quite funny when you go by and you're saying to someone buenos dias, and they're just kind of like it happens frequently. Now, the second part of that invitation is a challenge, and I tried this yesterday or the day before at Mega, where I found a lot of bottles of tiny gel containers. And I took a photograph and I failed to show it to you, and I'm sorry about that. But please know that if you're concerned about carrying your own gel with you, you can buy the stuff at Mega. Anyhow, I found myself walking down through the aisles at Mega, and I figured today I'm just going to say good morning, buenos dias to all the employees that I see walking by and the occasional shopper. And you know what? It felt good. It felt really good. So maybe I'm just a weirdo, but here's the dare. If you find yourself shopping, if you find yourselves out and about, try using that phrase, buenos dias, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. And if it helps you feel better after you've done it, let me know. Because that way I will know if I'm just a weirdo, or we may be discovering one of the most simple ways to show our kindness to others and to try to shed some of all this negative stuff that is going on around the circumstances that we're living in. So that's my invitation. That is my dare. When does, oh, great question. When does tardes change to noches? I don't know that there is a specific time of day. Let's see. I always greet people whether on my daily run, just a polite way. That's awesome, Gigi. Um, we have found that so many locals are so friendly. Awesome, too. Dylan is giggling. I'm going to giggle with you, Dylan. Um, this is important. It's fear of saying it wrong. If you're referring, Lynette, to you actually saying it or the people responding to you, well, if they are afraid, they could do their homework and we won't hold it against them if they don't know how to respond. But as a local, and I'm going to assume that you're a local, I'm sure that you would like to know how to say it. And I've said it a number of times, and I'm happy to say it as many times as you want me to, if this is the kind of information that you'd like to see. Um, this is a really good question, Michelle. I was brought up in the city, in Mexico City. And in Mexico City, I never heard people saying buen dia, which means good day. I always heard people saying buenos dias, which is good morning or good days. It means good days, literally. And I find myself sometimes surprised that locally I hear people saying buen dia, buena tarde, or buena noche. And I don't know if that's a regional thing or a local thing. In my mind, I always say buenos because that's the way I've been saying it since I was a child. Boom, pam, 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 pam. Oh, and by the way, you can also be really effusive and be very happy and say muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes, or muy buenas noches if you're just really happy to be where you arrived. Bam, 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 bam. We say hi to everyone. Joey says that's awesome. Um, I always do that. Da, 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 da. Buen dia is also good. Yes, Trisha, as I mentioned before, a lot of people say it. Um, and I'm glad you appreciated that. And with that said, it is almost 11:10, so we've gone around 10 minutes, although we've been getting a little longer. I don't mind that. If you don't mind that, then again, I don't want to keep you all morning long. My final comment about this whole issue with La Palapa is I'm not here to cause controversy. I'm not here to. Oh, I didn't even look at your opinion from the second poll. Let me take a quick look. Okay, you are asking that we keep it up as it is. 6% of you want headlines and stories only, and 0% of you want fluffy. Okay, thank you very much for your feedback. What you want, what you asked for, is exactly what you're going to get. I will always try to do so, making sure that I can back my statements, because again, credibility is very important to me. Kindness is also important to me. So for the final time, I will again apologize to La Palapa if my remark was perceived as unkind. I am speaking from my personal experience and my experience alone. I hope you will enjoy the rest of this weekend. I hope you'll have a great time, and I hope to see you soon. Tomorrow is Sunday and Fun Day, and I can already tell you that it's gonna be funny, because all this week we've been talking about Alexa, we've been talking about all kinds of language related things, and so tomorrow we're going to continue to be farting around with language, and we will have other things to share, such as the weather heat and what we call it and why. So have a great Saturday, and I will see you again tomorrow. Take care.